What's up, you guys? Welcome to my channel once again. It's Rios Financial. Today we're going to talk about the best financial books I have read throughout like the last 2 years or so. These are financial books I recommend for you guys if you guys have nothing else to do at home, you guys are in quarantine, or you guys are just in lockdown, you guys are not able to work. These are some books I have read, and these are like my favorite books I have read. These books are not so long, and they became really helpful for me, how they changed my mindset in a financial standpoint. And there's another book that I have read that made me like realize about stocks, and it broke everything down step by step. But let's get to the first book. The first book is Rich Dad Poor Dad. We'll put a screenshot right here. It's in Amazon. It goes for like less than $10. I'm gonna just give a quick overview of the book. It's a long book, as you guys can see, and it only takes about like a week or two if you guys do like some decent readings to get through the whole book. This book is really helpful, even if you're not like a big stock person or real estate person, but this book just makes you realize a lot about the financial standpoint. So this book just talks about his poor dad. He makes like $100,000 a year, and then his rich dad, the one he considers a rich dad, but he's just like a mentor to him. He just talks about how the differences of how a rich person, a wealthy person thinks, and the average person thinks. So his rich dad, he believes that he makes his money work for him, while his poor dad, he believes you have to work for your money. The rich dad believes that the harder you work is not necessarily how much money you're going to receive in return. You have to work smarter, not harder. While his poor dad believes you have to work hard for your money, and etc. Like the average person thinks, like part of my culture, I'm Mexican, they think that if you work in construction, that's actual real work, that's a real man. But some of these construction workers get paid like $13-14 an hour, and they work in the sun 8-10 hours a day. I used to do construction, so that's why I know. And everybody used to tell me like, oh, at least you work in a real job. But in myself, I'll just be like, I don't care if it's considered a real job, because you're not getting paid the same. And it's what the book mainly talks about. Let's get to another point. He believes that the rich dad believes how you should build assets to pay off your liabilities. So he goes in detail saying how before he gets a car, he thinks about another asset to build for that asset to pay off his car. He talks about getting a Ferrari, and his wife is telling him, don't get the Ferrari, first build an asset that will pay for the Ferrari. You know, don't just spend money like that, because that's not how you got wealthy. You got wealthy by building assets, and then those assets paying off your liabilities, and then those assets will actually grow throughout time. So he just talks about that. And then his poor dad, he just talks about how his one job pays for all his liabilities. It pays for his house, his car payment, his insurance, his medicals. He pays for everything, his 401ks. So it just talks about the main differences about money. How one dad talks about before getting a car, he needs to build an asset for the asset to pay off his liability. And that's the main point of this book. And then the poor dad, he just believes that his job should pay everything. And those are the main differences. The mindset of both dads are way different. So that's one of the big points. And he also talks about how the rich dad gets taxed less, even though he wins more money, while his poor dad works very hard and he actually gets taxed more. I'm not saying the rich dad gets taxed less in the way of dollar amount, but percentage amount, he gets taxed less. Because in the stock market, the average person in the stock, if you hold the stock for over a year, you get taxed 15%. And while you're a worker, like myself, I work right now, so I get taxed 25%. So that 10%, it's a big difference if you think about it, because out of $100,000, you get taxed $10,000 less. But his rich dad is just not $100,000. It's like millions of dollars. So he saves millions of dollars, even though he's very wealthy, he has a lot of money. His rich dad gets taxed less than his poor dad. So these are just a few points about this book. It's a very good book. I recommend it to every single one of you guys. Now let's go to the recap. The recap of this book is just mainly about assets versus liabilities. The rich dad has a lot of assets that pay for his liabilities, while the poor dad has a lot of liabilities and he only has one asset. Just a friendly reminder for you guys, the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. So they have stocks income, real estate income. They have a lot of income, while the average person, like the broke person, middle class or lower class, only have one stream of income. So that's book number 1, guys. Let's go to book number 2. On to book number 2. It's the same author that wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's Robert Kiyosaki. The book is called Cash Flow Quadrant. I'll post a screenshot. It's on Amazon as well. It's really cheap if you buy it used. I bought it used just because I know that I'm gonna just read it and write notes on it. So I really don't need a new book. You're still getting the same information. So I'll do a quick overview of the book. This book is the one that actually made me realize, like, damn, I need to wake up and start working, and like not work like in a physical job, but like work on side stuff that will eventually provide an income that I will have to quit my real job. Does that make sense? So this is how he breaks it down. It's just like a square. Has an employee, the business, self-employed, and investor. So before I get into detail, just think about which one are you, and we all need to become B or I or S. We need to get rid of the employee just because they pay a lot of taxes, 25%, while the other 3 get taxed less. I know there's a lot of politics on why employees pay so much taxes, etc., etc. In the book, he breaks it down why. I'm not trying to go too much in detail because that's your job to read and you to get the information. So employee is T equals money. So the time of hours you put in reflects your paycheck. So if you work 10 hours and you get paid $10 an hour, you get $100. If you work 20 hours, you get paid $200. So the amount of time you put in equals the amount of money you're gonna receive for your hourly wage. The B is income does not depend on active work because you're a business owner. So this reflects on your sales, your marketing, or the people who are working for you, and the people work for you equals money. So how well the people perform in your job will equal your pay. If they're selling a lot of stuff, a reminder, this is your company, so the more they sell, the more money you will receive because these people are working for you, so you want them to sell more. The S stands for self-employed. The amount of active work outcome determines your income. So this equals time equals money. You're working for yourself. So let's say you start up, like, I don't know, a new pre-workout. I go to the gym, so let's do an example. Pretend I start my own supplement. It's a pre-workout. So the amount of sales I do in this pre-workout, let's say I sell it for $20 and I sell 20 or something like that. I get $400, and now we just subtract the amount of money I put into that, and then the rest will be my profit. So that's self-employed. If you have like a side hustle, a side business, you go down in this category. And then the I equals the investor. The money works for you. This goes back to the first book I talk about. It's the same author, so he kind of like goes back and forth with the 2 books. So the I equals the money works for you. Reminder from the first book, he talks about how the wealthy people make the money work for them, and they don't work for the money. The wealthy people do not work for the money. If that makes any sense. If it doesn't, read these books till it makes sense, because that's the whole point of these 2 books. Currently, myself, I'm in the E and I'm in the I. I'm looking forward to becoming an S and an I, like within the next year, just because I do not want to work for nobody no more, because I don't know, I'm 22 years old and I'm already annoyed of people telling me what to do. But just think about in which category you fall into, and if you have any questions about the books, feel free to message me at Reels Financial _Reels, because they hacked on the Reels _Financial. If you're still following me on the other one, they hacked into it, so I made a new one. It's Financial _Reels. If you guys have questions about the books or stuff like that, I have the books personally, so if I know you, just hit me up and I'll let you borrow them. But that's just a quick overview of what the book talks about. I'll put the screenshot again. The book is called Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. Let's go to book number 3. I recommend number 3. The first 2 books were written by the same author, Robert Kiyosaki. Those first 2 books just talk about the financial overview and the perspective he has about money, and he compares the Rich Dad and the Poor Dad. Book number 3 just talks about long-term investing. I'll post a screenshot on Amazon. This book is about $20, I think. And if you have Amazon Prime, you'll probably get it by tomorrow or latest Thursday. So this book just talks about everything about a stock. What should you look for in a stock? The 3 different categories about a stock, which are dividend investor, growth investor, and a value investor. He just talks about on what you should look for and how to judge a stock. So he goes straight to the point. He has like no hidden agenda in general. And then the good thing I like about this book, like how I mentioned, it goes straight to the point. It's a very short book, and it only takes you about 2 to 3 hours to read. That's how long it took me personally, and I'm a slow reader. So for you guys that read fast, you guys are probably smarter than me because I'm pretty dumb. You guys will probably finish this book under 3 hours, and you guys have nothing else to do right now in general. So if you guys can increase your knowledge in the stock market, because personally right now is the best time to invest. That's just my personal opinion, because we're like in a recession right now or something like that. So if you guys want to get into the stock market and you guys have no idea on how to judge a stock, I recommend you guys to buy this book. Don't start investing if you guys do not know what to look for in a stock. Invest your time in getting knowledge first, get that knowledge, and then invest it into the stock market. That's the best way to do it. That's the way I did it. So that's the way I recommend it. But I really recommend this book. I'll post a screenshot once again. And those are my top 3 financial books I have read. If you guys have any books you guys recommend for me to read, and it talks about financial stuff, I like reading about books about financial stuff, just drop it down below in the comment section. Don't drop about like other books like Harry Potter's or something like that, because I hate reading stuff like that just because it doesn't catch my attention. But if you guys have any financial books in general, drop it down below. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Hit the bell notification if you guys have not yet. If you guys are new to the channel, support the channel, share the video, comment the video. I don't know, do whatever the hell you guys want to do. But you guys have a wonderful day.